Hello everyone and welcome back to the Iron Lake series. So, as we left off, we are just at the end of the first drought, so the water is slowly reappearing. We're still pumping water here, and we had built a plank or industrial lumber mill over here. So, as the water comes back down and propels our water wheel, we will need some storage for the planks, so we're going to put them down right now with two small warehouses right here. With both of them, it wouldn't be warehouses, obviously, it would be the small storage facilities, which are the small industrial piles. Here we go. So we put two of them here and set both of them to planks. So once we have done that, we will reduce the priority of one of them, as we're not going to need that anytime really soon. And in the meantime, we're going to check out our labor situation. So this one is currently all done with chopping down these woods. This one still has some more of the birch trees left. And we had started with creating that dam here to cut off the water supply that will be coming down from this direction. In addition, we're going to set this to be demolished as well. And I'm going to put it to highest priority just so we can get this done. And we're going to put a path over there so we can put more lumberjacks over here and harvest or utilize this area for our lumber or log situation. So with that, our beavers are still sleeping outside. Unfortunately, that is something that we will not change anytime soon. But I want to say that is all right. So food situation might be a little bit more dire. We have two beavers in the farmhouse. There's a lot of kohlrabi going around that just needs to be picked. And we still have our berry gatherer, while that mostly produces berries for our newest beaver generation. So either way, let's leave it at that. Our wheels are turning in our lumber mill, which means we're gonna let one of our beavers go into the lumber mill to start producing our planks, so we can finally put the forester up, or get the forester up and running. So with that in place, let's see what's coming next. We do need to think about getting stairs down and start blocking off this area here. So as we've already put up a path over here, we're just gonna put in the stairs right here, and we just had enough signs for that, which is excellent. Now to reduce the amount of signs, which hurts me as an academic to say, we're going to pause one of the science huts to just get a few more builders back into place. Keep in mind, in our main building, we had set the number of builders to 4, with the lowest priority, meaning that they will first do our jobs before they come in here. So having done all of this, we are going to move over here and think about where we're going to put in the block. But I think it is the best place to put it would be in here, where we're going to, I want to say, put in one levee on this side and maybe 2 floodgates on the other side. Just to, I mean, 2 levees high, just to allow for relatively quick water supply once the bad tide or the drought ends, so our beavers can get more water and, you know, not be too harmed by any of this. We do have still some beavers who apparently are struggling to find some food, so this is something that we probably want to think about in the long run, or maybe not so long run. But for now, we are getting more planks. They should be getting or coming into the forester. I'm actually going to high prioritize this for now to get this done and built, so we can make sure that we have enough trees coming our way. We also see now that the green area on this side has expanded, so we are going to expand our oak tree situation over here, just to make sure we're making the most use out of this space that we can. So now our beavers haven't started chopping down the berry bushes, and we might, at the moment we don't need to high prioritize this because there's no real priority for those. So let's make sure we keep them still in place for when there's a little bit more downtime so that our beavers can do what they need to do. Right now they're still busy building this dam and almost done though, which is excellent. So at that point we might consider shifting our priorities probably first of all to the storage area. Actually, maybe not. Our forester will be built, will be done being built in a little bit as soon as more planks come in. And then the staircase will come up. So, having said, I did pause one of the science hut. I am going to actually undo this because as we need to put in our floodgates, a double floodgate, as well as the levees, we just need more and more science. The levee is 120, the double floodgate is 250, so we need at least 370 science to make all of this work for us. So while the food situation seems to be not the greatest, I'm not too worried about this. This one farmhouse should at least support 15 of our beavers, although I don't quite know the very specific numbers that a farmhouse does. I do know the log pumper will actually supply water for 15 beavers, so we're okay with respect to that. But the food, we'll just need to see how things go. The nice thing with this dam now completed, excellent, we do have an additional food source over here, at least until the bad tide hits. Because if the bad tide hits and we're not wrapping this up, we will end up with all of these actually dying on us. So while we have a little bit of downtime, let's think about some of the amenities for our beavers. For now, we're going to extend this over here, and we're going to put houses down on this side. So our beavers are happier and they will live longer, which is, I think, something that we all would like to have for our beavers. So we're going to keep enough space for one more house over there and leave a little bit of space in the middle. This will likely not be enough, I want to say. I want to keep that space in the middle for future decorations and all the other things that make our beavers happier and live longer. So I'm actually going to remove this here for now. At the moment, 2 houses will host 20 of our beavers. They will take a while to build, so we will just need to be patient. But having said that, currently we do have no one in here to actually do our construction. So what we're going to do, with 116 logs, we're in pretty good shape there. I'm going to pause one of the lumberjacks. We are still creating planks. We actually do have now 5 planks in there, which makes me consider to actually pausing this facility for now. Let's see what else we could pause. So we have 1 in our forester, and we do need that just to make sure we will actually end up with enough wood supply. We have 1 forester down here, which will chop down these trees. We have 1 forester up here to chop down not only these trees, but also the remainder of these, which means we can happily delete this lumberjack flag. So we do have 2 scientists and then 2 farmers right now, as well as 1 water pumper. This one I'm actually going to put to highest priority, just to make sure that we will always have water for our beavers. And then I think we just need to wait for our baby beavers to grow up. So there are actually new beavers coming out any second now, which is great. We have 2 new little beavers, but it will still take a while for them to grow up. So until then, we just need to juggle around our workforces for a little while. So I'm going to pause this one, as we do have enough of the planks to build the stairs over here. Planks are actually already in. We will build an additional science hut. As I mentioned before, we do need a lot of science for 370 science in total to make sure we can block this area off. Now the second drought has been announced, and in the past there was always 3 droughts before the first bad tide came along. So, still have 1 beaver in the construction area, although another beaver must have just died of old age, very unfortunate. So all of this will become better once the house is fully built up. Seems to me like, okay, the lumberjacks actually just bring the logs over here, which is relatively close to our housing here, which will hopefully speed up this process. I'm not going to put anything down over there for now, as I'm waiting for the levees to be done, because once we can build the levees, we can at least put 2 levees on one side, and if we notice that we're running out of time, we just completely block this off for the time being. While not great, considering that we will need to tear it back down in order to rebuild this with floodgates and make sure that our water comes through, it will, or should at least, get us through the bad tide. Okay, so now a lot of things will happen while we're still waiting. Mostly we're waiting for our beavers to grow up and kind of finish building a couple of things, but let's plan a little bit more ahead. So as the droughts get longer, as the game gets longer, the droughts get longer, we will need more water storage. So I'm going to put all of these as water storage down here, but I'll make sure that I put them on the lowest priority, as there is no particular rush on this. Actually, one I'm going to put on the second lowest, just to speed that up a little bit. So we still have a few of the planks. Oh, look at that. And now 2 of our beavers have grown up, which means we have 3 of our workers in there, and they're already very busy building the second house. So while the first one took a while, the second one will be much faster. So let's look into the well-being area. Would love to build a rooftop terrace up here, but that will take a little bit more time. So instead, we're going to put a campfire on this side, and later on, once we're a bit further down, we're going to put a second one over here, and maybe a third one over here in the very long run. But for now, even just one will actually give our beavers something to do, make them happier, and then ultimately they will live longer. Our forester is doing a pretty good job at, and look at that. As soon as everybody went into the barracks, our well-being went from -1, I think it was before, to +4, which is excellent, which gives us a bit more time with each of our adult beavers before they actually die. Campfire is also almost done, and look at that, I am going to... unfortunately, I missed our little... I have no idea how to pronounce that name. Who was the first beaver in there? So this guy's just chilling out, you know, I'm growing up, nothing else to do. So I guess just look at the not lit fireplace. I think they do light up at night, which will be actually quite nice to watch. Now this guy's just sat around. I guess he has nothing to do, since the only food supply that he's creating is basically for our newest beavers to be born. So we could consider pausing him, and I will do this. And I will put him back into the lumberjack, or in the lumber mill, because as we are aiming to build double floodgates, we do need 20 planks in total. Now the lumber mill can store 13, this one can store 20, so overall we will be fine with the double floodgates. Now we do have enough science to actually build the levees, so we're going to put 2 levees on this side, just on top of each other, and our beavers can get started building this. One thing to also keep in mind, we do have some metal here, and we do want to start looking into extracting that metal at some point. Very likely we're gonna, at some point, also remove the floodgates again and put these in to allow normal water to go through, whereas when there's a bad tide, it should just flow into this direction. I could open up this, but I think if I do that, the amount of water that will actually come down here will be, well, less, and it will be much slower to begin with. So let's see how things work out. So we do have now 3 scientists, which is great. The next milestone will be to get to 250 science, while our beavers are still building all the stuff over there. One thing that I have noticed now, they have cut down some of those bushes so far. In order to reach the ones in the bag, we're going to put a little path over here, so now they will also be able to reach that. And we are going to put more trees into here. So in the long run, we will move away from the pine trees and go completely oaks for our wood supply. So this is what I'm slowly, ever so slowly, I'm going to do here. Now the next drought has started. We're in, I want to say, still in good shape. It's only 6 days long, which means this guy will keep pumping the water out for 6 days. We should be fine. As they are building, and they've already put in the first levee over here, which is great. So we do need to consider long-term or longer-term water storage. And one easy way to keep a little bit of water, at least as a backup, we could try to block this off, but ultimately this will not get us through long, like really long droughts overall. However, at the moment, we don't have that much of a choice. In the long run, we could block this off just behind the lumber mill and fill this entire area with water, as well as this area. Use some dynamite to make some more room over there, maybe even all the way over here. But this is much longer term planning. However, having said all of that, we should probably try to add another like water storage area in here. The easiest way to do this is to put in levees. Most of the area will be filled up with levees. And then we're going to put another 2-story floodgates or double floodgates in here, so we can lower the floodgates and let water through. Once the floodgates are in here and in all the way over there, we will actually be able to keep or retain the water up here and use that for our beavers' water supply. In order to make our beavers be able to get here, I'm going to put a staircase over here, and look at that, our well-being is ever increasing, which is excellent thanks to our campfire. Of course, I have fully missed any of the beavers going to the campfire, but I guess that doesn't matter. Most of them were sleeping anyways. He literally walked in and the new day is about to start anyway, so he will walk straight back out. I guess that's fair enough. All of our water storage areas are in here for now. We will need to consider putting a second water pumper in, and maybe we will schedule that guy right now, just so it is on its way. As our beaver population increases, we now have 4 little beavers running around. They're happily producing. One thing to keep an eye on is the number of berries. But overall, the kohlrabis are actually getting lower and lower in terms of the amount that we have available. So what we're going to do is we're going to put another farm on this side, or another farmhouse on this side, to be built, and then we're going to pause this, because this farmhouse is actually not getting through to all of the kohlrabi that we have planted. So instead we're going to build a farmhouse on this side and remove a bunch of the berry bushes, just to make sure we can actually plant more of them. So let's prioritize all of the berry bushes, not necessarily the farmhouse on highest priority. Although actually let's put the farmhouse on a higher priority, but not on the highest, just to get it done. So we can make sure that we get enough food for our beavers to be okay. I'd love to have some more food storage instead of doing what we're doing right now, where we're basically, they're eating the food out of the farmhouse and it never actually makes it into the warehouse that we had built for that. This already gets us to a pretty good point. We do still need 100 more signs for a double floodgate, and I think in this season, or in this episode, we're actually going to do that. before we stop this episode and wait till the next one. So the main thing we have focused on for this episode was the well-being of our beavers, which I think was very essential, as well as making sure we are starting to be prepared for the bad tide. And I think we're overall in excellent shape to get all of this done. Let's actually have a look at our lumberjacks. So this one still has a few more trees left to chop, and this one has also a few more trees left to chop. We're a little bit low on the number of logs, so I might actually unpause this one to help him chop down this area, just to make sure that once, as we are building up our dams, like the small one here and the one over there, we will actually be able to supply them with wood, and also need to create more planks as soon as the drought actually ends. For that, just for now, I'm going to increase the number of workers in our lumber mill back to 2, so we can produce them a little bit faster once the time comes. And I am going to reduce the number of workers in this farmhouse to 1, which means we have now 3 farmers just collecting the food for our beavers. And I think that will make a good dent into the remainder of the grown kohlrabi. So they are actually already working away on the levees over here, which is great. We are still 70 signs away. So let's think a little bit more long term. So we will get a little bit of water storage in here, but this will not be enough, not by a long shot. We could start considering like blowing out all of this area just to make it a little bit deeper and store more water. But ultimately, I don't know if this is going to be enough. I would love to have way more water storage. And look at that, by the way, sorry, I get super distracted by this. Look at these overhangs and the blockage on top. It's like basically creating this natural bridge. And there's actually a bad tide source up here, which we will be utilizing later. Probably gonna utilize quite a bit of this just for power production in the long run. But for now, let's just keep that in mind to consider for later use. So, back to the actual topic. We need more water storage. What could we do? We could, for example, open this up here once we get all of the bad tide water sorted. We could open this up and redirect normal water down here. But ultimately, I don't know if this will help us too much. I'd love to have a deeper water storage, but that will also be tricky. So we might ultimately end up moving those deep water pumps to somewhere else and create additional like depth for these areas, just to make sure we will get enough water once the lengths of the droughts hit like 30 days or something along those lines. But still, we need to survive in the meantime. I think putting this up will definitely help for maybe another 5 droughts or so, or maybe 5 droughts / bad tides. But yeah, we do need to consider more area. What about back here actually? So we could remove these blockages and have fresh water coming down there. There's another blockage here which we could leave, and the water would basically just flow into this, which could be okay, but I don't see the added benefit. There's another, so we could put another dam basically in there and keep a little bit more water back here. I don't quite remember if they've designed it so that the surface area is actually what matters when it comes to evaporation. That's usually what it is. And for those of you who have a little bit of background in water evaporation, there's actually a cool area, I think it's in California, where they put out a lot of like plastic balls, black plastic balls I think, that swim on top of the lake just to protect the water surface from direct sun, which actually reduces the amount of evaporation quite massively. I would love for for it to see something like this in Timberborn, where you could actually store the logs on top of water, which would then reduce the amount of water evaporation. But that might be getting a little bit too complicated for a game like this. Let's actually check in. So we had 6 days of a drought. We're down to the last one. There's still a little bit of water left, not that much to be honest, but there's should be enough easily to get us through that 6th day, and maybe even the 7th or an 8th day. After that, we will actually run out of time by not having any water in here, which means we will not be able to pump water, our crops will die, and then ultimately our beavers will be dead. So let's try to avoid that. We have now almost enough science, which is great. So let's go into the landscaping tool, put in the floodgates, and I am going to start putting them in here for now. And of course I was too impatient. Let's speed up the time a little bit more again. We're only 4 away. 2, come on, 1, and go. So now we have 2 floodgates in here. We do need to unpause this in terms of the planks, because right now we have 2 planks here and no planks in there. But I think we will be able to compensate for all of that moving forward. So in addition, we're going to put in the double floodgates over here, which means in total we need 40 planks, and we need those in the next wet season, just to make sure we have enough to build the remainder of this and the next drought. Because I think there should be at least 1 more drought. If I'm wrong, we're in big trouble. But let's see how far we can go. So the drought's almost over. And like I said before, we are going to leave it at that for this episode. It was, I think, a little bit shorter than the first one, but we've made some significant progress. Our beavers' happiness, where is it? Up here, is doing pretty well. Some of them actually get wet fur because we had built the stairs down here and they're actually walking in there. Those are just our construction people. Otherwise, nobody else needs to go in there. We do get a bit of a bonus from the campfire, the kohlrabis, and definitely from the shelter. We will need to look into making this a little bit more appealing or better. And actually what we're going to do for now, because I almost forgot, we're going to put the path over here and actually remove this area here. The reason is we can, once we look into the decorating area, we can put down lanterns and shrubs. So the shrub is actually relatively cheap, so we're going to put it here, and as you can see, both of the houses are actually lighting up. See this and that? Which means that shrub will benefit for both of these houses, ultimately, in the long run. Similar with the lamp, when we put it here, both of the houses light up. So again, our beavers in both houses will actually benefit from this, which is great. We only have one person right now in here, which is not so great because we do need 2 more people in there. So I am going to pause one of the farmhouses again. We have started to build up some food storage in there, and I am going to pause a water pumper. It wasn't actually supposed to be running to begin with, but with 16 people we should just about make it to deal with that with 1 water pumper. So that is great. Our forester is also almost done with all of this. Let me actually just quickly mark these for demolition and increase the number of oaks that we're going to plant here. And there's 1 more spot over here and 2 more over there. Like I said, in the long run we're going to replace these pines with oaks as well, because this is solely for lumber supply or log supply. They are making progress on the gate, which is great. Our 2 beavers in here actually have done a tremendous job on getting the planks up and running. So like I said, with that we are going to stop here. We're, I think, in good shape for the next drought to come, and then already in pretty good shape for the next or for the first bad tide to happen, and our beavers should survive. So thanks everyone for joining, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.